Hello everybody, Bruce Elgort here with a video that's going to show you how I was able to take my Amazon Echo Dot and connect it up with IdeaJam. Now, before I get started showing you how I was able to make all this happen, let's first start out by watching the Amazon Alexa IdeaJam skill in action.
Alexa, ask IdeaJam.
Welcome to the IdeaJam skill. Please tell me what you would like to know from IdeaJam, such as list the top ideas, what are the hot ideas, ask to list the current statistics, and more.
What are the hot ideas?
Here are the current ideas that are hot on IdeaJam. Use more customization features in ND9 Notes Mail. This idea was submitted by Mike Woolsey and is categorized under the Notes Client idea space. Next idea, how to connect Windows Active Directive group. This idea was submitted by Prasanto Biswas and is categorized under the Connections idea space. That's all the hot ideas from IdeaJam.
What are the current statistics?
Here are the current stats from IdeaJam. The number of ideas is currently 4,581. The number of comments is currently 12,346. The number of votes is currently 108,544. And the number of registered IdeaJam users is 4,581.
Can you read me the recent comments?
Here are the 5 most recent comments on IdeaJam. Mike Woolsey commented, "What are we talking about here? Can ask questions in the Domino community forums." On IBM.com, link. Next comment, Aaron Wang commented, "Hi team, is this function reply with stationery available now in Lotus Notes? Thanks." Next comment, MB commented, "I installed Wine 1.9.10 on Ubuntu 16.04 following instructions on link and installed Domino clients as per instructions in this blog, link. All 3 clients started up and were usable. I was able to build a Xpages Java application NTF. In Designer, used admin client to sign it, refreshed design from server console on admin client. The refreshed NSF works fine. Needs to be tested more." Next comment, MB commented, link. Domino for Wine seems to be an option to get there. Hope IBM energizes the effort to get Domino Designer and admin clients working on Wine. Next comment, Rahan Shah commented at Robert Ibsen voiced the idea of link preview by @Alex Matheson is great. Even the flagging idea where the users know beforehand about the website is brilliant. That's the last of the comments.
Who are the top innovators?
Here are the top 5 innovators on IdeaJam. Peter Presnell, who has a score of 26,654 and is in the gold band. Next innovator, Patrick Quinton, who has a score of 22,013 and is in the gold band. Next innovator, Craig Wiseman, who has a score of 21,811 and is in the gold band. Next innovator, Craig Wiseman, who has a score of 21,458 and is in the gold band. Next innovator, David Hablowitz, who has a score of 15,217 and is in the gold band. That's all the top innovators.
Alexa, stop.
Thanks for using the IdeaJam skill.
Now that you've seen the IdeaJam Alexa skill in action, let's take a look at the IdeaJam API. Now, I'm on the ideajam.net site, and I'm going to scroll way down to the bottom here in the lower right, and you'll see a link for developers. I'm going to click on that link, and now I'm brought to the developers page for IdeaJam. Now, this API has been around since 2010. It was developed by Matt White of the LDC Via group. And there are several methods, in fact, there are a lot of methods that are available to developers to employ, right, IdeaJam data within their applications, right? So some of the ones that you saw, right, inside of the Alexa skill were get recent comments, right? Let's see, get What were some of the others that we used? Get stats, right? Get top innovators, and I think there was one more, right? Get what's hot. So those were the four things, the four APIs that were called in the Alexa skill. Now, these APIs return JSON data, and what we need to do is to be able to call, right, these APIs depending upon what the intent was of the Alexa user, right? What intent they wanted to surface from the Alexa skill, right? So when I said, statistics or recent comments, right? Alexa knew what my intent was and knew which API to call. Well, it didn't really know that by itself, right? I had to build and map out those intents and then connect them with code that then called the appropriate IdeaJam API and fed a JSON object back to Alexa. So let me first start off by going to the Amazon Alexa developer portal. Now, developer.amazon.com, you can sign up. You don't have to supply a credit card. And this is the place where you register your Amazon skill, your Alexa skill. And here, I'm going to be using the Alexa Skills Kit. I'm going to click on Get Started. And here you can see, a whole bunch of things that I've developed. Now, here is the IBM Collaboration Solutions IdeaJam. And I'm going to click on the Edit button here just to show you what I had to go through to map out the skill itself. So the first thing you need to do is, tell it that it's a custom skill, that the language is English, right? And some other things that I needed to do were to give it a name, and I gave it the IBM Collaboration Solutions IdeaJam. And then you needed to give it an invocation name. And this is the name that someone, and as you heard in the prior video, me ask Alexa, I said, Alexa, ask IdeaJam, right? That's the invocation name, IdeaJam, okay? So let's go with that for now. And then the next thing you need to do is to build an interaction model. Now, here is the intent schema. Now, I'm not going to go into what Amazon calls slots. I'm just going to focus today in this video on basic intents. Slots allow you to put like slots in an intent such that you can pass specific values, right, to your script that's going to run and do its thing to make Alexa happen. Now, in the intent here, I have the IdeaJam what's hot intent. I have the IdeaJam get stats, IdeaJam get recent comments, and the IdeaJam top innovators. The last intent is an Amazon supplied intent that I can program against to stop the actual skill from, from interacting with the user, right? And you saw that when I said stop or Alexa stop. That intent gets called and I can have code to do whatever I want. And if you remember, I had it say, thanks for using the IdeaJam skill. Now, these are just names that I've given these intents, right? They're not anything other than being used to map out utterances which are below. So if we go down below, right here, you can see for each of the intents that I defined above in the intent schema, right, I gave things that somebody would typically utter or say in order to invoke that particular intent. Okay? Makes sense? Again, don't worry about the slot stuff now. I have other apps that I've built that use slots. In this app, I really didn't need to build in any slots. Okay, let's carry on. Configuration. Now, what I'm going to do here is I am going to tell the skill here what the endpoint is to go and invoke, what code do I want to invoke when when the skill is fired off, right? And when the intents need to be dealt with, right? So here I used what's called an AWS Lambda function, okay? Now, an AWS Lambda function, which you'll soon see, can be used, right, to run a bunch of code without a server, right? So Amazon provides an environment for you to run code, right, that executes when you call it and do things, okay? So what this is asking for here, and what this big long number is here, is the Amazon resource name. That's the internal, right, identifier where my Lambda function is to go talk to the IdeaJam API. Now, I set mine to run in North America. I didn't have it run in Europe or make it available to Europe. In fact, this entire skill is just available to me right now because I haven't published it within the Alexa skill directory. And that's pretty much all you need, right? I can just click next through here. Again, this is for publishing and stuff like that. And the skill is now live, right? So that ARN, that Amazon resource name that you saw earlier, I'm going to go into AWS, Amazon Web Services, and I'm in the AWS Lambda service. And as you can see here, I have a lot of junk because I do a lot of testing. And I have right here something called the IdeaJam Alexa skill. And it's written in Python version 2.7, and that's the size of it. And what this is a Python script, and I'm not going to go through in fine detail the code here. I'll tell you where to get this code later on, right? But literally, it's a bunch of Python that, as you can see, sends back JSON. And it does a lot of things. Now, the way you create a Lambda function, and I'm going to come back to this function, by the way, is you go into Functions, and you create a new Lambda function right here, upper left. And I'm going to choose a blank function, and Amazon gives you a whole bunch of templates to work from. I'm just going to click on blank function, and here's where you define, right, the type of trigger that's going to fire off your Lambda function, right? And in my case, it's going to be an Amazon Alexa skill kit. I'm going to click on that, click next, and now is where I get to enter things like the name, a description, what runtime I'm going to use, C#, Java 8, Node.js, right, Edge Node, and Python 2.7. I chose Python 2.7 because I like Python, okay? Now, here is where you can put your code in. You can also upload a package if you need to. Maybe if you have several Python libraries that are not part of the Amazon runtime system, you can upload, a package. The other things that you're going to need to do are to select, right, an execute, what do you call it? A Lambda function handler and role, okay? And what this does, right, is that this thing will control what kinds of things your skill can do and access, right? It's kind of like an access control list or an execution control list in Notes and Domino. So I already have one called Lambda Basic Execution. My function isn't really accessing other Amazon resources. So again, it just uses the basic Lambda execution. I'm not going to mess with the memory here, but here's where you can set a timeout. And the timeout, I think I set on the IdeaJam one, was 3 seconds. If your API takes longer than that, right, you can control the number of seconds for your Lambda function to time out, right? So if the IdeaJam API weren't returning data in a timely way, I could increase this if I wanted to, but 3 seconds is the recommended number. There's nothing else you need to check. You can just click on Next. Again, I didn't have any code in here. I didn't name it. And your function would be created, and then you can test it. Let me go back to my Lambda function. Okay, my functions, go to the Idea Jam one. And here is the code. Now, this template is available from Amazon, and it's called the color skill kit, I believe. They give you an example. So I had to work through it all to understand how it worked and to make it, do things. And essentially, there's a main function here called Lambda Handler, and that gets called by the Alexa skill kit as the default function that's going to run when the skill is invoked. And then we have some logic here that when it's launched to do certain things, and when certain intents are requested, there is a function to handle the specific intent. And you can see here on intent, right, this function, this line on 206, I have several if statements here, right, that do different things depending upon the intent that was sent to the Lambda function from the Amazon Echo, right, the Echo Dot that I have here. Okay, and then it calls the appropriate function, right? So let's take a look at getStats. If I come up here to getStats, don't mind my messy Python code here. Did I pass getStats? Let's see. What's hot? And getStats. So here it is. So essentially, these things called card titles, right? There is an Alexa web page that every user has with their account that literally will show the various Alexa skills that someone invoked from their Alexa, along with the utterances and what came back and things like that. Okay. So the next thing is, I'm not going to go through every line here, but essentially our job here is to call the API and then create what I call a speech output variable that's going to concatenate all of the text that you're going to want to read back to the user. And here you can see, right, I am reading the JSON data that came back, right, from Idea Jam, and I'm building this speech output string, which I then call a function called build response, which is going to essentially build the response that gets sent back to the user, right? Okay, so there's no super, programming magic going on here. And the other thing, when I first said Alexa, ask Idea Jam, that was this, the intent there got mapped to this on launch, where it then called this get welcome response. And the get welcome response function right up here on line 49 is what you heard, right? Welcome to the Idea Jam skill, right? So after that, it just waited for utterances for me, which could then be mapped out, right, to the various functions here within the Lambda function. The one thing that I want to show you right down here on the intents, right? See, it says right here on line 223, it says else if intent name equals Amazon stop intent. So what that thing does is calls a function called stop and literally sends back, let me find the stop function here, I think it's right here. Changes the card title to skill stopped, and then it says should end session equals true. Right? And then I build the response that gets sent back to the user, and it knows to to speak this line back to me and then end the session, right? End and stop the conversation I was having with my skill. Okay? So I hope this Note to 9 video that David finally twisted my arm enough to get me to do helps you get started building your very first Alexa skill. It wasn't too difficult. Debugging can get a little tricky. You have to go and read a log, and you have to log events. In Python, I had to use a logging library, a logging module. I don't have it in here. I took it out. And it really is easy to get started. If you have any questions, I'm sure David, after I'm talking here, is going to share, or maybe he did already. I don't know, because we're this whole process is done asynchronously. So again, David, thank you for having me on Nota 9, and I look forward to producing more videos on the Amazon Echo in the future.